So hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. It's time to talk about episode 6 of The Last of Us because I just knew as soon as I stopped recording, as soon as I finished that goddamn episode, I just knew that I had so much to say and I could not wait. I've rewatched it twice since then and I think it might be my favourite episode so far. Yeah, I know I said that in the reaction and I know I say that every goddamn week, but this one was just different. But before I get into talk about the episode, I just want to remind you guys that I have a Patreon where I do a whole bunch of other content, a whole bunch of reactions. The more extended version of my Last of Us reactions goes up over there. They're usually around the half-hour mark, slightly longer. I think this week's was like 35 minutes, give or take. But they go up over there. I do a whole bunch of other stuff too. There's like older reactions like Buffy, The X-Files, the original Star Trek, and fun shows like that. And recently, this week, well, between this week and last week, I've started up reactions for Lockwood & Co., The White Lotus, and Supernatural as well. So, a whole bunch of stuff going on over there, as well as live streams and movie reactions and stuff. But the link to that's down below if you want to check that out. The link to my Twitter, Instagram, anywhere else you could find me is in the description box just underneath this video. Let's go. Right, it's time to get out my list again, because you know. Do you know? Do you even know? Look at that. And I am not a list making person. I am the type of person who I go off of vibes. I just sit and I speak. I can't do that with these videos. I have so many thoughts about this show. So many. Okay, so this video might seem a little bit all over the place. I think I tried to keep the list in order of how they happened in the episode, but I'm not quite sure I made that mark. So if we're jumping around the place, just bear with me. So first of all, starting at the start of the episode, I adored that couple. Their energy was everything. The two of them, how they bounced off each other, the humour was impeccable. Down to like the dialogue, where your man asked her, like, did you make him soup? And she was just like, yeah. I relate because, bitch, if Joel broke into my house, I too would probably make him soup. That scene as well had a divine moment between Joel and Ellie where I can't remember the names. I don't even know if we got names for the couple at the beginning, but the lady says to her husband, oh, he's got a girl with him, and then Ellie comes running down the stairs and you see Joel instantly snap at her like I told you, stay upstairs. And it's that dynamic again, that bickering. Anytime that we get a chance to see that between Joel and Ellie, I love it. But my favourite moment from this episode, well, one of my favourite moments from this episode, because I had a lot of favourites, it's me, I can never pick one, was just after they leave that house. Joel goes outside with Ellie and you see him he's the first panic attack that we see on camera. It sounds really twisted to say that I really liked that and I loved that, but I did. I suffer pretty bad with panic attacks and have done for years. And that is exactly how it feels. I mean, I've seen it a lot in shows and movies portrayed. Sometimes they hit the mark, sometimes they really don't. That kind of feeling like the air has been knocked out of your lungs, feeling like you gotta claw your way out from inside of you, even though you can't. It's just like an urge to break free of this weird squeezing sensation, and the ringing as well you could hear in his ears. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Thought it was fantastically done. It was perfectly placed as well. We see it happen to him 3 different times throughout the episode. First time was just after they leave the cabin, where the lady tells him, like, oh, well, if your brother was past the river, then he's dead. Joel then comes outside and has the panic attack, thinking of his brother being dead. Second time we see it is just after the fight that... No. Second time we see it is just after they're about to be captured, or the dog is about to sniff Ellie. Do you remember when all the fellas rode up on the horses and you see the dog go to sniff Ellie, you see him freeze? I don't think that was as an intense an attack as the first one that he had was, but you see him totally like zone out, disconnect. You can see the fear, you can almost see the blood rushing to his fucking head, or from his head, I guess, because usually it leaves your head and you get all lightheaded and woozy. But yeah, you see it then, and then the third time you see it is just after him and Tommy have the fight in the bar. So I feel like it's only triggered by people directly close to him. Twice it was over Tommy and once it was over Ellie. The fear of losing someone close to you. Very smartly placed throughout the episode. Fantastically portrayed by Pedro. Absolutely fantastic. Either he has experience with this kind of stuff in real life, or he spoke to people who do before filming those scenes, because, yeah, spot on. Moment I loved was that lovely little moment by the campfire where the two of them are sitting down And she asks Joel, so like after this, let's just say that we do get a cure, what then? Because, yeah, she's kind of focused on the idea of getting to where you need to just get from A to B, just survive. But what happens if it does work? You know, so her asking him that and trying to put some kind of a life past that, trying to see a little bit beyond that it was lovely to see. But his answer was kind of, it is what you'd expect. Him going, I'd like to settle down somewhere quiet on a sheep farm. It's what you'd expect from Joel, and it's oddly perfectly suited to him. But that, in contrast to what he says later on in the episode, is what made me love that scene even more upon rewatching it. Because, like, something like that would be perfect for him. Him, like, retiring to a farm by himself. Yeah, you could totally see that in his future. But then when he turns around to her later on in the episode, when he's more comfortable with her and we've pushed past stuff, and seeing him be honest and go, well, I wanted to be a singer. That brought out an almost childlike quality in him. Seeing him be that honest, opening up with something that could be that personal with her. All I'm going to say is if we do not get Joel singing in an upcoming episode, I'm going to be writing an angry email to someone on the writers team. That came out really weird. Writers. I'll attack the writers team. But circling back around to that scene at the campfire between the two of them, Ellie saying that she wanted to be an astronaut, that she was obsessed with space. That just shows again the innocence, that childhood magic of, if you could be anything, what would you be? And, you know, kids answer back with the craziest of things. I want to be a rock star. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a singer, like Joel had said. And it just, there's little moments like that are sprinkled throughout the episodes that really just remind you, as capable as she is of surviving in this world, she is still just a child. She wants to be a goddamn astronaut. Loved this scene. Loved the scene that Joel fell asleep while being on watch. And it mirrored the earlier scene that we saw. I think it was episode 2, maybe episode 3. Oh no, it wasn't. It was episode 4 because they had Bill and Frank's sleeping bags. The scene in episode 4 where he stays up all night long on watch to make sure that she's okay and that she's safe while they're out in the forest. I loved that mirroring. In episode 4 you had Joel standing in the darkness holding the gun while Ellie slept. And then in this we got the reverse. You got Ellie watching over him, and even when he freaked out when he woke up, she was just like, dude, chill. Like, I did everything right, don't worry. She really is a capable kid. Same as when she's the one who cops that they got the rivers mixed up. Joel didn't cop that. Ellie did. We get little moments with her character that really shows how incredible she is and how observant she actually is. So then, like I said earlier, yeah, we have the whole incident out in the snow where you get the dogs sniffing to make sure nobody's infected. That was very intense. Oh, God. But again, you get to see that side of their relationship where straight away Joel's first go-to is to take her by the hand and push her in behind him. I love the two of them so much together. I do. I really do. Keeping on the theme of snow as well. We weren't actually on the theme of snow. I just mentioned it once. Anyway, keeping on the theme of snow, this episode was just divine to watch. I have a thing for snow, okay? I love snow. I love seeing shows that are set in climates like that. It is just, I don't know, with today's day and age with TV and with film, everything is so visually dark. You know, you're sitting there trying to watch it and you're like, you're just fucking looking like, I can't fucking see them. I can't, where are they? And a lot of really popular shows as well have a habit of just making everything darker visually. Which, you know, okay, if it's a horror or a thriller show or a movie, if it fits the theme of the thing you're watching, fine. I will just simply up the brightness and watch it in a dark room and try and piece together what's going on. It's an artistic choice, I get it. But this episode was so bright and in your face because of the snow. I loved it. Absolutely adored it. Getting to see the Miller brothers reunite was really nice too. I had some choice words for Tommy in this reaction. I understand that I did. I had some people disagreeing with me, being like, no, Tommy's not an asshole or Tommy's not whatever, because I did call him some names. I stand by them. Listen, we get the explanation from Tommy as to why he just disappeared, what's going on. He's now married and he's got a kid on the way. He has this whole community that he's become a part of. He didn't want to fuck it up. And I'm like, I can understand that. But you left your brother completely in the dark. As if you were directing a modern horror TV show. You made it as dark as you could. Woo! Nearly knocked my phone out of rage. You could have wrote him a letter. You could have fucking snuck onto the radio somehow. You could have snuck out one day and tried to find him to be like, listen, I'm okay. I'm not in fact dead, but leave me alone because I'm doing something over here with my life. Anything. He could have done anything to let Joel know. Joel has been worried sick, and I don't know if it's just because I'm an older sibling that I can relate to that feeling. I can relate to the stress, fear, anxiety, whatever that Joel would have felt not knowing where Tommy was. I get it. So I just think that was a super weird choice. And then like with him being like, oh, you know, we killed people, Joel. Like, yes, ye did. Plural, both of ye. You're not perfect either, Tommy. Ye did things that you're not proud of, yeah, but I just don't get how you could turn your back on family like that. But the smile that we got from Joel when Tommy ran to him and they hugged, it's rare to see him that emotive in the show. We've only seen it a very, very, very sparse few times. And it was beautiful. His smile lit up that screen more than the snow did. It was interesting as well seeing how Joel dealt with him when they first started properly talking when they were by themselves. Where he lied about Tess and he also lied about who Ellie was. Because it's like Joel, his spidey senses were going off. The sibling senses were tingling. Tingling? The sibling senses were tingling. He knew I can't be open and honest with him just yet. I don't know what the fuck kind of mindset my brother is in right now. And I don't blame him for being a bit cautious to come forward with that kind of information. But when you see Tommy, you know, openly go, yeah, I'm a dad, and he has that discussion of I want to be a good dad, and then Joel just doesn't know what to say, and Tommy takes that stab at him, where he's like, you know, just because everything went to shit for you doesn't mean it, or just because life, what was it? Just because life stopped for you doesn't mean it has to for me. Something along those lines. Again, I guess I can understand Tommy a little bit to an extent, because being the younger brother, spending your whole life just following your older brother around, yeah, I can understand why you'd want to break from that and do something for yourself. But in that one sentence, it's like everything had changed, because before the outbreak, before the fall, Joel had a house, he'd had a place, he'd had a kid, he was somewhat settled, and Tommy was this kind of vagabond character that just drifted from place to place. So it's interesting now seeing the reversals of them, of those roles. Yeah, and then when he leaves, it's that scene that when he leaves, he has another attack, because I guess he feels like he's losing his brother too in that moment. Him seeing Sarah as well, and she wasn't even there. That's going to kill me. I know they're going to keep peppering that in every now and again. That's going to kill me. Every time I see him, imagine her, I'm like, oh my god. I loved the scene with the Diva cup, where Ellie gets out of the shower and you see the Diva cup left on her bed by Maria. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. You don't see that often in apocalypse shows. Periods aren't really talked about. But it crosses anyone that's ever had a period. If you've had one and you've watched any kind of show or movie like this, it has crossed your mind. What do you motherfuckers do when you're bleeding for a week out of the month? You just go fuck off by yourself into a cave somewhere because you can't walk around like a normal person. If you got nothing on you, if you got nothing to catch that, you're going to free bleed through your pants. And it's going to be everyone's problem. I love the speech that we got as well from her in the house, where she finally tells Ellie that Joel had a kid, even though that really, I didn't like that, man. That it wasn't her fault. She didn't know that Ellie didn't know. But that wasn't her place to tell. That wasn't her story to tell. Joel should have been given the opportunity to tell Ellie that, but, you know, probably never would because it's Joel. Yeah, I just don't like that was taken away from him. But I did love the speech that she gave where she said that the only ones who can betray us are the ones that we trust. Because ain't that some fucking truth? I liked seeing the movies. It reminded me of that episode of The Walking Dead where we were all in the theatre. Everything felt so normal and it was like, this is how you guys are living. Some of us are out there eating raw fucking rabbits in the forest and surviving off of nothing but sheer luck and coincidence, and you guys have a cinema. Best scene this episode, best scene, fantastic, most show-stopping, amazingly made me want to peel my face off and just set it to the side while I had a good ugly cry, was the scene where Tommy sits with Joel and Joel tells him everything. He tells him about the journey he's been on, tells him about Tess dying, who Ellie really is, Henry and Sam, divine, and having him open up and admit, actually use his words to say the thing that you never thought he would say. That he admits, I was so afraid. He admits he feels inadequate, that he feels old, he feels like he can't protect her, and it kills him. Because outside of the fact he knows this kid is the cure, and this kid could mean the future would be different for everybody, outside of that, he's gotten attached now, and now he's kind of bonded Ellie with Sarah's memory, and every time he looks at her, that's kind of what he sees, and he cares about Ellie and he likes being around her, outside of the fact she reminds him of his daughter. I think he genuinely just likes her too. And the thoughts of losing her, of not being able to protect her, because he brings up all the times that he's failed her. It frightens the hell out of him, and that's understandable. And I think we all kind of knew that as it was, but having him actually say it. And apparently that a lot of that scene, a lot of the dialogue was improved by Pedro. That when he says, I'm failing her even in my sleep, that was all Pedro. And I'm like, the universe doesn't need to give me more reasons to love him, okay? There's nothing I love more than an emotive actor, than an actor that speaks with their face. Which is partially why I have liked him as an actor. But this scene in particular, holy shit. I think it took a lot as well for Joel to admit that he needed help. Because that's just not him. He does not do that. He has stuff on lock and he does it himself. He has his shit on lock. I'm going to tie that in with another point quickly, just because I'm on that point now. When we see him in the stables, Joel says, I came to steal a horse and to be out of here. And Tommy goes, you didn't need to steal one, I would have given you one. And then later on, just a few minutes later, he asks Tommy for a gun because Maria took his... Am I getting her name wrong? It is Maria, isn't it? Tommy gives him the gun and Joel kind of explains, well, yeah, it's just, Maria took mine. And Tommy's like, I already said yes, Joel. He has a problem with asking for things, and when he asked for the gun, he felt the need to instantly give an excuse as to why he needed it. Same with the horse. He needed a horse, but he didn't want to go ask for one, so he just decided to steal it, even though he knew they would have given him one. So him coming to Tommy and actively asking Tommy to do this thing for him, that must have taken a lot too. And then we gotta talk about that scene in the bedroom between Ellie and Joel. If you're gonna ditch me, then just ditch me. Her opening up and saying, I've lost people. Everyone I've loved me has either left me or died, except for you, and you have that shove. When God bless her, she really tried. It is kind of an unstoppable force versus an immovable object, though. Joel's built like a Joel, and Ellie, she had a lot of rage in her. I reckon she could have taken him in a fight if she was angry enough. That scene in particular, absolutely. Ooh, her bringing up Sarah's name wasn't a good idea. I completely understand where she was coming from, with the point she was trying to make, but that wasn't it, babe. You don't do that to somebody, especially when they've never talked about it with you before. And Joel instantly, the whole vibe of the room changes. You can feel it. You can see it in his face. Again, the emotiveness of that human's face. I just love his face so much. That he goes from this kind of concerned, fumbling with his words, trying to tell her, it's for the best if you go with Tommy. He's trying to explain this to the way, just with like a head tilt, you can tell when he goes, don't. You're like, lads, the walls are up again. You're right, I'm not your dad and you're not my daughter, and tomorrow you're going to leave with Tommy. That really fucking rocked my shit. I can understand that it's a case of, well, yeah, it's for the best. He thinks it's for the best, whatever, but the words were just so simple and so harsh. I said I'd forgiven him for that because, like I said, he did go to the stable and pick a horse and he gave Ellie the choice and she chose him. But, yeah, I've forgiven him, but I'm still salty about it, as a viewer. Something as well that I have noted down here is that when Tommy came to get her the next morning, just before she went to the stables, she was already sitting up, dressed, completely ready, completely packed. So, she probably hadn't slept for most of the night after the fight with Joel. She was up bright and early, ready to go. When she's sitting there, Tommy knocks on the door and waits for her to say, come in, before he enters. In the earlier scene, when Joel came to visit Ellie just before their big fight, he kind of half knocked on the door and then just walked in. Little things like that to show you how different they are, the Miller brothers, to show you how different they are personality-wise. I love it. Joel does have this, there's a very soft streak to him, but there is an awkwardness and a roughness to him that isn't necessarily there with Tommy. And yeah, it was just shown in a little, very brief little thing like that, and I was like, ooh, I noticed that, and I loved it. Hands down, funniest line of the whole episode went to Ellie, where Joel was trying to teach her how to shoot a gun. They were doing target practice, which again, adorable bonding moment. Loved that. I stand by what I said in my reaction. His agent needs a goddamn raise or an award or some shit. His agent saw an opportunity and he took it. He decided, alright, we need to get this man into a found family trope kind of show. They got him Mando. And then the agent was like, right, okay, the world has fucking melted for this. We need to do it again. Can we catch lightning in a bottle a second time? And then they went with Joel fucking Miller. Anyway, yeah, the scene where he's trying to teach her how to shoot. and he's trying to teach her to squeeze the trigger like you love it, which is something that Pedro says in another movie too. He's in a film called Prospect, and that line, word for word, is in that movie, which I just loved, and was like, I only noticed it upon editing the reaction, to be honest with you. I didn't notice upon my first viewing, because when I sit down to do a reaction, it's my first time watching the episode. There's a lot of feelings, there's a lot of emotions, and usually when I'm editing the reaction, that's when I pick up on a lot of stuff. When I heard him say that, I was like, I'm actually kind of glad I didn't notice that in the reaction, because I would have said it, and then I would have seemed like an absolute psychopath for Pedro, which I am. But yeah, where Ellie says squeeze the trigger, or Joel says squeeze the trigger like you love it, and Ellie says, are you trying to shoot it or get it pregnant? That child's wit is unmatched. Lovely moment again where they're on the horse, and he's talking about his past, what he was, that he was a contractor. Adorable! Yeah, and of course then the episode had to just rip out your feelings absolutely and shove them into your face with him being stabbed. Listen, I know sometimes that when something happens, you're not always certain how you're going to react. I understand that. But Joel, at his big grown ass age, shouldn't he know if you get stabbed, the last thing you do is pull out the yolk that's in you? Because as soon as you do that, you are going to start free bleeding. Maybe that's something that I learned that's not necessarily true, but I always thought that if you get stabbed, you leave the fucking thing in you until you get to, like, medical assistance. I mean, he just ripped that bitch right out of his ribs and started free bleeding on the floor, and then had the Pikachu surprised face. Like, blood? Again, yeah, stress and trauma does weird things to a person, so maybe he wasn't thinking when he did it, but still. The song at the end was divine. Yeah, it was Depeche Mode, which was the same song that was used at the end of the first episode. Lovely full circle moment, I agree. But I actually really liked this cover. I liked this cover so much I tried to find the version online and I couldn't. But I did find out that the singer is the daughter of one of the co-runners of the show, which I thought was really cool. But loved that song because that, isn't it 80s Means Trouble? That 80s music, when it was played on the radio, means trouble, and then that's the song that played while he was bleeding in the snow. I love this so much, and I said it in my reaction, like, I'm trying to be normal about it. Yeah, but I can't. I don't give a fuck. I love it, and I think it's fantastic. I just think it is, like I said earlier, it's lightning in a bottle. So, yeah, those are some of my thoughts on that. I can't wait for the next episode. I just can't. I really can't. I'm so excited. I think that they've nailed the pacing. That's something that people had a bit of a problem with the first few episodes. I personally didn't. I think the pacing is absolutely stellar. There's still a good bit of story to be told in the next 3 episodes, but I have no doubt that they're going to pull it off. Yes, I know what next week's episode is about. I didn't watch the trailer or anything like that because I don't do that. I try and stay away from trailers. But I saw on Twitter what the subject matter of next week's episode is, and let me just tell you, I'm going to have a goddamn crate of tissues beside me. It may have been a while since I played the games, but it hasn't been that fucking long, you know? Some wounds run deep. I remember the emotional scarage I took from that, so I'm excited. Yeah, that's it for this week's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, the link to my Twitter, my Instagram, and anywhere that you could find me is down below in the description if you should want to. And I will talk to you all soon.